Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now in this episode we're going to talk about some players that could have been, some player stories, and just generally players that we thought could have been more in their career, tragically got their career cut short, and just some general stories about players that we thought could have been destined for more greatness than they originally had in their years. Some young guys, some older guys, some debates. So we're going to get into it. We got about 10 players each, got some honorable mentions. And like usual, I think you can kick us off, Frank. So you can give us your first guy.
Yeah, and in this list, these players we're going to go through are mostly, the newer generation kind of guys.
Yeah.
We don't really go too far back. We try to stick it to like 90s and on, maybe late 80s to 90s and on.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there's thousands of guys you can go out throughout the years. But we wanted to kind of keep it more recent.
Mm-hmm.
So the first guy I got on my list, which might be a little bit surprising to some people, but when you really think about it, it's not. And that's Ken Griffey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, he had an unbelievable career, Hall of Famer, 630 home runs. You know the stats: 836 RBIs, and 2,781 hits, 10-time Gold Glove. I mean, unbelievable player.
Yeah.
But 9 times in his career, he didn't play 140 games or more. And that's not even a huge number. He played 162. So he missed at least 22 games 9 times in his career.
Yeah. It's just about a little more than a whole season that you miss.
Yeah. And that's not counting the years. There's years he only played 60 games, 70 games.
Mm-hmm.
This is just saying, he didn't play 140.
Yeah.
So I didn't dive into it, the full stats of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's pretty much sums up. And a lot of this was in the middle of his career.
Yeah.
Mariners breaking his wrist and, hurting his ankle to Mariners and then getting to the Reds and really never playing much with the Reds. It just took a lot of his numbers away.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say that's 3 prime years in his career. Right? Let's just add all his injuries up. Let's say it's just 3. Say it's, 33 home runs. Let's say he ends up with 100 home. That's 730 home runs. That's just 30 home runs for 3 years in his prime. Really, he was hitting 51. He hit 4. He would have easily broke the record.
I think so, yeah.
He would have had 3,000 hits. I think he would have had a shot at the RBI record.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would have stole some more bases. I mean, he was probably more Gold Gloves.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the best players, but he still, you can even put him on this list. You can put him on almost any list. Whatever thing you want to talk about baseball, you can put him on.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the greatest, and he still could have been better. It's crazy.
Yeah. He, he's a player that he's a no question Hall of Famer, and he's just someone, especially of our generation, that kind of watched him play. He's just a beloved player. And the fact that he could have been the tops of multiple iconic, milestones, like the home run list and RBI list and stuff, the fact that he could have done that on top of what he already did is amazing. It's true. He was really an amazing player. And he's not a player that could have been, because he was, but imagine the stats he could have put up if he didn't get hurt. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just, what could have been. You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the math.
Yeah.
You just did the basic math here. That was just,
And that's just based off averages.
That's just rough math.
Yeah.
So you could really dive into it. You could have been up over 300-400 stolen bases, 3,000 hits.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right there for him.
Yeah.
Hope maybe more Gold Gloves.
Yeah.
Maybe he wins a World Series. If he's healthy on one of those teams, maybe he brings him to a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Just adds to his legacy.
Yeah. It changes his whole impact on other teams too. He goes to the Reds and he's not hurt 5 times for 5 years.
Yeah.
What are the Reds? So there's so many things that he could have done different, or it could have been different if he doesn't get hurt so many times.
Yeah.
With so many serious injuries, really.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I agree. He's a definitely could have been candidate. All right, the first guy on my list, the first three guys on my list are pretty recent guys, especially if you're a recent baseball fan. You'll remember these 3 guys, but the first one I want to talk about is pretty obvious: Jose Fernandez. He unfortunately died a few years ago. He was 24 years old, and it was at a time when he was really pitching well. He had come back from Tommy John surgery, I believe. He had won Rookie of the Year. At that point, he had a 2.58 career ERA for only pitching a few seasons. He had a 38-17 record. He was on an up-and-coming Marlins team. There were speculations that big teams like the Yankees were going to try and get him in his upcoming free agency class, which is now come and gone. Just a story that you look at, and it really is a what could have been because you don't know. I mean, he showed greatness in such an early stage of his career at such a young age that if you start seeing him pitching at age 26, 27, 28, 29, maybe he ramps up his velocity a little bit. He starts to pitch a little bit better. He starts to learn and just develop better in the game. We're looking at maybe one of the better pitchers of our generation. Could have been. It's all, that's the point of it, is it could have been. He could have also just easily fallen off the face of the earth. You don't know. But based off of the stats that we're given here and what he did in his time, I think he could have easily been one of the better pitchers that we could be pitching right now.
Sure. And he was on a Marlins team that really wasn't winning a bunch of games.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to a team that could, plays a little bit better. He's getting more wins.
Yeah.
He was a guy who could hit a little bit, but he was a Lindor type guy.
Mm-hmm.
Big smile and flashy, fit Miami.
Yeah.
Being
Oh, yeah.
a Dominican, ascent. I mean, he was a great pitcher.
Yeah.
I remember exactly where I was when I found out.
Me too.
I was playing softball in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
We just finished, and a guy on our team said, got the update on his phone and said it, and no one knew what was going on. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then seeing the moment shortly after when D. Gordon hit the home run.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
So it was crazy, but obviously one of the guys who, we could still easily be watching, and he wouldn't even been 30 yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it even sadder. You know.
A guy like I think he could have been more. He could have been one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he had a good chance of being like a Felix type guy,
mm-hmm.
where he loses some of his velocity and stuff a little early because he pitched so many innings as a younger guy. But still, one of those types of careers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was at least going to do what Felix did.
Yeah.
Where you kind of be like, oh, he's only like 32 or 33. He's like, what, But he's like, yeah, but he pitched. He came up when he was 20.
Yeah, pitched a ton.
But still, he could have had a Hall of Fame career, just like Felix.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he easily could have even been better.
Yeah, that's what the shame about it,
Yeah. But the next guy I got on my list is a guy who I really liked. I have an autograph at my house of, and that's Grady Sizemore.
Mm.
From 05 to 08, he was one of the best players in baseball, not just outfielders, players.
Easily.
He hit 30-30 in 08. They get like 33 home runs and 38 stolen bases or something like that. And he hit 20-20 in the other 3 years. So that's 4-year span.
Okay.
And that's 25 and 28 and stuff like that. Not just 2020, obviously.
Yeah.
He's a 3-time All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Those 4 years, he was 3-time All-Star on a real good Indians team.
Oh, yeah.
And he did everything. He made some great plays. He could hit for an average, like a 270, 280 average at least. Home runs, stolen bases. He wasn't a real big guy either.
Mm.
I mean, he's a guy who probably would have broke down a little early because he played center field and ran the bases and had home runs and stuff like that. So he did a lot.
Yeah.
So he might have broke down a little early,
mm-hmm.
a little earlier than you would have thought maybe. But I mean, this guy, he exploded.
Yeah.
After those couple of years, he literally, his body exploded.
Yeah.
He couldn't do nothing. He had elbow injuries. He had elbow surgery, groin surgery, back surgery, 3 knee surgeries. And like the plasma knee surgeries were like, you got to really go in there and almost give yourself a new knee, He had 3 of those. I mean, he just had everything. He could never get on the field. After that 4-year span, he never really touched the field. And when he did, it's a very limited time, and it was nothing really you could do. Because half his game was gone. Couldn't really run. Couldn't play defense as well. Power was gone. But for them, 4 years there, 4.5 years, he was on his way to Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I agree.
After each game, after each, season, you could almost start engraving more and more of his Hall of Fame plaque. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame he got cut. I mean, I think he's only like 38 now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Late 30s, maybe 40, maybe. I don't think he is. I think he's like late 30s now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So he might be wrapping up a career right now. He might be wrapping up his career at this moment. He could be 38, something like that. Coming in as a backup outfielder and just hitting a little bit. Wrapping up a Hall of Fame career, but he's been out of the game for 6-7 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah, he had a little comeback with the Phillies or something like that, right?
Yeah, and he batted like 150 for a few games, and he just couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
just a great player.
Yeah,
and some of them years you go watch him play, unbelievable, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always liked Grady Sizemore. I thought that it was fun to play with him in the games because if you play video games, the 2K games or whatever, he was always one of the top guys that you'd want to play with or play as. Yeah, he could hit for power, hit for contact, run, throw, field, whatever you needed out of him.
He was like Like poor man's Trout.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not quite the greatest player of baseball, but
But
he would have been one of the better outfielders you've seen probably in the last 30 years.
yeah.
And I think easy. You'd been in Indians Hall of Fame. You would have been in the MLB Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Probably maybe brings the Indians to a World Series. I don't know exactly where his career takes him at that point, but unbelievable. 4 years there. I mean, dominant.
Yeah, he was. Talk about dominant for your era. He was dominant for those few years. All right, the next guy I want to talk about, similar in the vein of Jose Fernandez, an unfortunate death we had in baseball a few years ago, Oscar Taveras. He died at 22 years old, which is very unfortunate. He only played really 1 year. His stats really don't jump out at you at all. He had a negative WAR. He only batted about 222, but high prospect, incredible potential, and the lasting, memory we have of him is that his last at bat in the MLB hit a home run in the playoffs.
In the rain.
Yeah. So, he's really a what could have been, because there was no season that he had that you could say, well, he was really on his way. It was all this potential and all this talk and how he, came through in the playoffs. And it's like, wow, this guy's really, this young guy's really going to have a great career, especially at the Cardinals, great organization. He was going to get taught well. Put under some veterans like Yadier Molina and stuff. He was going to get taught right. And I thought I was excited to see the player. I know you were excited about it. I know your brother, he's a Cardinals fan. He was excited about it. And it's just it's a shame with these guys that they die that young. And like I said, there's not much stats to go on. Unfortunately, you can't really link it to his statistical numbers like Jose Fernandez. But you watch him play, and you could see that there was something there.
Yeah, you passed the eye test.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he flew through the minor leagues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
A sweet swing, big guy. Probably would have maybe worked his way to maybe a first base role a little later in his career because he was big.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely could have played outfield for a while, but maybe first base, maybe DH a little bit if he goes to the AL. But yeah, the potential there. Another guy. I mean, right where you were when the nose broke.
Yeah.
I was watching the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching how they handled that and how it unfolded, which was, how could you do it? How they handled it great, but I mean, how could you, your announcer?
Yeah. How do you announce that right?
But I remember exactly, where it was, and I heard that, and it was unbelievable. Nothing you could do.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate thing, but things go on. So
yeah, unfortunately for baseball, that a lot of tragic deaths we've had in the last few years here, and he was
yeah, he's a bright star.
Yeah.
And again, what do you be, 27 maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
in his prime.
He'd be just about hitting his prime. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. So the next guy I got my list here is Mark Pryor.
Mm.
Obviously, I think everybody knows about him.
Yeah.
And the Cubs, and it just seems a little ironic that some of these guys and some of the teams they played on, you could look aside from it was the Indians. They've had their long curse kind of. The Cubs, obvious. I got some other guys when I get to mention some of the teams they play on. It just makes sense that it's that team that doesn't catch the break. So, but Mark Pryor, I mean, 03 obviously was the big year for him. They go over to the NLCS and they lose. Bartman, he was on the mound actually when Bartman pitched over.
Yep.
He was 18-6 that year, 2.43 ERA, 211 in third innings. His career really that was it. His career went way down after that. People kind of blame Dusty Baker, Cubs fans at least, for using him so much because I think I seen something with his September starts. Like the least amount of pitches he threw was like 109.
Oh,
like 128, 133, 109, 111, 116. But,
oh my God.
Mark Pryor himself says he would never blame Dusty Baker.
That's cool.
He never asked to come out of the game. Never wanted to come out of the game. Especially in that time in baseball is a little bit easier to kind of let him pitch a little bit more. Playoff runs and stuff like that. So he wanted to pitch.
Yeah.
So you can never blame him. His injury really, where his career really took that spiral downwards when he had a collision, I think with Marcus Giles. He kind of fell and landed on his shoulder. Didn't really turn out to be anything major at the time, but he hurt his shoulder at that point, and that's kind of started it all. He also broke his elbow on a comebacker in 05, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then he ended up having shoulder surgery in 06, like massive shoulder surgery. I think he ended up tearing his Achilles. So I mean, it was just all downhill. But that collision and then bad luck with a comebacker, kind of wiped him right there. He's made multiple attempts. Tried going with the Yankees, and he tried going with There was another team. He was in the minors for the Reds, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think now he's about a pitching coach for the Dodgers, or some sort of bullpen coach. I think he might be the bullpen coach for the Dodgers or something like that.
Yeah.
For one of the World Series runs at least.
Mm-hmm.
Still a younger guy, and he's got great stuff to teach. So
Mm-hmm.
he would be a great pitcher, pitching coach, or bullpen coach, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it's great that he's still in baseball, but a career that really never really got off the ground. You had that 1 year, and he was only going up, and then it just exploded with some bad luck and just a cursed team.
Unfortunately, yeah. Whenever I think of Mark Pryor, I think of that the Bartman thing, and I didn't know he pitched that much. I mean, think about throwing that many pitches in starts today. It would be like sacrilegious, have someone throw 125, 130 pitches. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like that long ago, but you could say back then the guys just wanted to throw. Coaches let them throw. Didn't matter.
Playoff race. You were with the Cubs trying to break a streak.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You got to let him go.
Yeah, you pitch him. He never wanted to. You never wanted to come out of the games. 110 pitches really wasn't crazy back then.
No.
Or really not back then, but 110 now is not really all that crazy.
No, it's not insane, but yeah.
Then it was more common. So,
yeah.
But it's the 130s and it's the consistency of it. But then again, you've seen CeCe do it. Oh wait.
Yeah.
He was throwing every 3 days.
Yeah. Big workhorse.
So I mean, it's just a couple bad breaks for a manager, Jesse Baker, who never had any luck. A team that never had any luck, and a player that just couldn't have any luck.
Yeah.
So just bad combination.
Yeah, and I like Mark Pryor too, so that was always a shame to me. I always wanted to see him kind of come back and do what he did that 1 year. He had great stats. All right. Well, the next guy I got another unfortunate story that I got, the third of my top 3. It's going to get a little lighter, I promise. Tragically, we lost Giordano Ventura. That's the next guy I want to talk about. He died at 25 years old. So 3 guys right in a row here that died 25 and younger. Ventura, I believe, had the most seasons out of those 3 guys that I mentioned. Him, Fernandez, and Tavares. I believe Ventura pitched like 3 or 4 years. Had a big personality, whether you liked him or didn't like him. He's pretty divisive. I think he died before he could reach his full potential. He was a fireballer. He didn't have an incredible ERA. He had like 3 or 4s ERA. But at that young of an age, if he's a fireballer, maybe he starts to control it a little better. Maybe he reduces his velocity a little bit, learns to pitch a little bit. You never know what could happen. It's a shame at that age because it's just like they're still blossoming and they're still figuring out what they want to do at that point. But, of course, there's stubbornness in players. I'm sure they don't, some of them don't like to change their whatever they do or their repertoire or whatever. But, at that age, you could still mold them. And it's a shame that we didn't get to really see him and Fernandez. We didn't really get to see what they could really do. And with that Royals team, I mean, who knows where the Royals are at this point, if they maybe still got him or if he's moved on to another team, he's helping that team. That's another thing with these players we've been talking about. How much the MLB itself could shift if they stayed at the level that we would expect them to. Like a Giordano Ventura, maybe he got better, or maybe Jose Fernandez got better. Maybe Mark Pryor stayed, as good as he could have, or at least, a little lesser version. So I think it's just it's a shame. Another guy we lost too soon, and who knows where he would be right now. He wouldn't even be that old, just like these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, he really kind of learned how to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple, fights on the field, and he was kind of growing from that stuff, and he was kind of learning how to pitch with the velocity. Worst case, he turned into a real good bullpen arm.
Mm-hmm.
But just another piece to the Royals, and another team that kind of seemed to have bad luck. They ended up winning the World Series finally.
Mm-hmm.
But for many years, and even now, it just seems another team just has a little bit of bad luck. But he was a young pitcher there, had a lot of potential ahead of him, and it's a shame. He was a real good pitcher.
Yeah.
Nothing you could do.
Yeah, same as the other 2 guys you talked about. It's just sad that it happened.
Yeah. So the next guy I got on my list is Dontrelle Willis.
No.
Yeah, you gotta love Dontrelle Willis.
Yeah.
He had 1 or 2 really good years. I put here he had 4 years where you could say he was good.
Mm-hmm.
03 to 06. He was rookie year in 03. He was 22-10. He had 2.63 ERA. Let's see, he had 7 complete games, 5 shutouts. I mean, the guy just pitched.
Mm-hmm.
He was and he could hit.
Yeah.
He could hit a little bit, But I mean, injuries kind of took over. That was those numbers were in 05, not his rookie year.
Oh, okay.
But still, his rookie year was real good.
Mm-hmm.
But those numbers were in 05, so that was like one of his last years. He was real good.
Mm-hmm.
But some injuries, not a bunch of them, but that wacky windup, being a big guy. it was just hard to keep duplicating, especially being such a big guy. But a couple injuries and stuff like that just kind of threw him off, and you could never really figure it out. He moved teams, with the Marlins, and he went to like the Tigers and the Reds, and he just couldn't quite figure it out. There were starts he was real good, and then there were starts he would explode. Just couldn't be consistent. He's sort of walking guys. That's where he with the wind up, getting crazy with some walks.
Yep.
But just a guy that had super potential, and another one with that huge smile and just goofy guy that you just liked just looking at him. Makes you smile. But he's a great analyst now.
Yeah, he is.
Great follow on social media, but career again, of course, of what could have been.
Yeah, I always gotta love that wind up that he had and that funky delivery, and kind of like we talked about last episode, and we'll get to him too, is some guys like Tim Lincecum who had just a funky delivery. It's hard to replicate that and keep it consistent and stay that good for that long. So maybe if he changes mechanics a little bit, maybe slow down the funkiness of the delivery, some sort of change, maybe he could have made an adjustment and stayed, not maybe dominant, but at least could have stayed in the league a little longer and pitched better. But it's hard to, when you pitch like that, it's hard to change. That's what you've been doing.
That's the thing. You try to change it a little bit, but getting older and getting injured, and sometimes the leg kick don't get as high and stuff like that.
Yep.
But you try changing things, and it's hard.
Yeah.
That's your windup. That's what you feel obviously is comfortable or that you like or whatever it is. So it's hard to kind of change off of that.
Yeah, and how many hours and days of time you've spent with that delivery, perfecting that delivery, and then you got to change it.
As a pitcher, that means you got to throw so many more pitches. Just in practice.
Yeah.
And then come into the game, keep going. So it's just tough. But, for 4 years there, he was real good. And for a couple of those years, at least 2 or 3 of them 4 years, he was really good, dominant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was in the Cy Young chase, and he won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, gotta love D-Train.
Yeah. World Series, though.
Yeah, he got that 03, right?
Yep. At least the one thing out of his career. He got a World Series.
Yeah, can't take that away from him, All right, the next player I got, I think, would be on everyone's list. I think it's a pretty obvious guy, is Bo Jackson. I mean, what an athlete Bo Jackson was. Football and baseball, he was great.
Athlete.
Yeah, that's why I actually have my notes here, is that he is probably right now the greatest athlete that we have seen in the last how many years, probably ever.
I think he's the greatest ever.
And if he played a little bit longer, there wouldn't even be a debate. There's hard to find a debate right now, but imagine if he had played a few more seasons, football and baseball, or just baseball, or just football, or something. I mean, he had incredible power, he had incredible speed. He was just a freak of nature. Some of the replay, if you just go and watch a highlight reel of Bo Jackson play baseball, him breaking the bat over his head and running up the wall and hitting the ball how far, 500 some odd feet.
Throwing Harold Reynolds out the plate.
Yeah, from
the cameraman wasn't even, he was like sleeping.
Yeah.
All of a sudden Harold Reynolds was out the plate.
Threw him out from like the wall, not even the warning track, like the wall.
Yeah, Superman dives and not even crow hopping and throwing people out.
Yeah, he was just a freak of nature, and you watch some of his football clips too. It wasn't like he was just a incredible baseball athlete, but you watch some of the plays that he was a cheat code in Tecmo Bowl. If you went back and played that video game, he was a cheat code.
Yeah,
he would just outrun everyone.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. I mean, he's the greatest athlete.
Yeah,
and he was almost like a folk tale. But he was real.
Yeah,
like he's still alive.
Yeah,
like he's a real person. Like that 30 for 30, you don't know Bo. I mean, that's one of the best things you can watch.
Yeah,
some of the stories, but it all seems like it's just fake.
Yeah, it seems like all legend.
And it's like there he is. He broke a bat over his head, and he didn't even like slam it on his head.
No,
he just laid the bat on his head and just pulled down and just snapped.
Yep.
Like he was crazy.
Yeah, he was. I mean, what a human being. Yeah. What an incredible.
College, he was crazy. At football, I mean, he was unbelievable. The Raiders, he was. You don't even know. Yeah. You just wish you would have seen just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or just he played now.
Yeah.
Because now with the technology and medical, stuff they have, they probably would have been able to fix his hip issue more effectively and easier and stuff like that, and got him back on the field at least at a more productive rate. Because when he came back, he really couldn't do anything.
No,
he really didn't have the power anymore. He really couldn't run.
Yeah,
like he could. Obviously, he couldn't really play football and take them hits. Baseball, you can go play, but he wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of swing and miss in his approach there, but who cares? It's Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
But again, like I said earlier, I mean, look what team he played for. I played for the Royals. Just seems like some bad luck.
Yeah, there's definitely a consistent narrative here with our players. Just what could have been with the team as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. So The next guy I got on my list, I split them up on purpose because I just couldn't put them back to back. But I got Kerry Wood.
Okay.
I just couldn't put him back to back with Mark Pryor. It just seemed like it was just too easy.
Yeah.
But Kerry Wood, I mean, unbelievable. 98, he was a rookie of the year, 13-6 with 3.4 ERA. He was a phenom, like he was. They knew he was a phenom.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that was the only thing the Cubs were going to have that year, of course. And we just seen the documentary just came out with the home run chase that blossomed that year. Most people just thought the Cubs were going to have, Kerry Wood every 5 days,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, go watch him. And he was worth watching.
Yeah.
But, right after that, his career already started getting a little bit rocky. 99, he got Tommy John, missed a whole year. He had a couple decent years after that. 03 with Mark Pryor, they had a good year. He was in the threes ERA, and so high threes. So he had good, decent years. It wasn't like he was bad.
Mm.
He could just never really hit that full potential.
Yeah.
After 03, kind of really took it down, downward spiral. Injuries, he hit the DL 14 times, on and off the injuries, elbow, shoulder, everything. Got moved to the bullpen with the Cubs, and he got traded away. Then he was more of a bullpen piece. He went to the Yankees and had really, if you go look at his stats of the Yankees, he had 28 innings, he had 1 run.
Wow.
He had a .93 ERA or something with the Yankees that one.
I vaguely remember that.
That
wow.
1 year. But yeah, it was just stuff like that. I mean, he couldn't. After the Tommy John, just didn't seem like he was. Like I said, a couple of good years, not great, but a couple of good years. After 03, it was just all downhill after that. It did last a while, bullpens and stuff like that. Just couldn't. It just wasn't, Kerry Wood. Just that 98 year. I mean, a 20 strikeout game.
Yeah, that's what I always think of.
The stuff that the guy had was unbelievable. What he could have been is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And what the Cubs could have had.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if they just Wood and Pryor just were okay pitchers, just like borderline all stars instead of both exploding.
Mm-hmm.
They're just borderline all stars where they could have been with some of them teams when Derek Lee came and Ramos Ramirez and stuff like that, where they could have been, or just one of them stays good and one has their career. What could have been.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put them together though. I couldn't put Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood, so I had to split them up.
Yeah.
But the two of them just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, again, Cubs. So
yeah, of course.
Just you look at all these teams and you see what teams they play for. 95% of them almost seems like it's on one of these teams that are like, they just can't quite get anything right, or
I know.
Any luck.
Yeah,
so.
It makes sense. No, I mean, yeah, Kerry Wood. I mean, that 20 strikeout game. That's what I always think of when I think of him. He was unbelievable for those few years or whatever. As a bullpen piece, he was good too. I mean, he wasn't quite what they thought he would be, but he was still, had that electric fastball and shit like that. All right, actually, the next player I got is not an unfortunate team story, but more of an unfortunate player story. It's a little bit of a retired too early case with Don Mattingly. And Don Mattingly had a great career, don't get me wrong, and he had some good stats, and he was really one of the only Yankee hitters at that time that was doing anything. The lean years in the 80s and stuff. And he retired in 95, and next year, 96, is the start of the Core Four, the start of the World Series runs, really when the Yankees got back to being, the winning Yankees. And to me, it was always, people think back fondly on Mattingly. A lot of my parents and my parents' friends think back Mattingly was great, and he was a great Yankee. But think about if he had stayed a little longer, if he had, been at first base for the Yankees, those 96 season, 97 maybe they end up winning the World Series or something like that. 98 they already had a great team. So, he would have padded his stats more. He would have had World Series rings possibly. I mean, he would be almost a surefire Hall of Famer if he had stuck around a little longer. And it's crazy to think where the Yankees could have been, where he could have been. Are we thinking about, oh wow, remember that class with Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame? So it's a little sad, especially, and he's a great baseball personality. He's still in the sport. He's coaching, but it's a little different from the guys we talked about in the way that it's more of an unfortunate story for the player and not the team, because the Yankees still made out in the 90s, but Mattingly unfortunately can never get that ring. You know?
I mean, he had the injuries,
that too,
back injuries and like leg injuries where he just couldn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, his career obviously cut a little bit short, and numbers cut down a little bit.
Yeah.
But still a great player. But just where they could have been, where his stats could have ended up, what the story could be told on Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
So
A lot different, yeah.
yeah. So the next guy I got on my list is a little bit more recent player, and that's Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah.
He's just he was deemed the perfect player.
He was, yeah.
He was deemed the perfect defender, and he could hit, he could run, he was a defender. No crazy stance. Unbelievable arm strength. He could play shortstop. You could put him at second. You could put him at third. He had everything.
Yeah.
But the guy managed to only play 40 plus games 3 times. And again, like I said with Griffey, 40, even 140. Sorry, not 40, 140.
I was gonna say.
He only played 140 games 3 times.
Which is still.
But even that 140 is still not that crazy of a number. When you think your top guy should probably be playing at least 150 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
But so he only played it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Just injured every year. Every year.
Yeah.
He had some injury. He had heel surgery, double heel surgery, ankles, broke his wrist, broke his ribs, just everything. There's even more to that. He had a calf injury really at the end of his career there. Just everything. Every time he got on the field, it was wrong. If he waited too long, somehow it still ended up was the wrong decision. He rushed himself back, it was the wrong decision. But yeah, his years with the Rockies, he was great. Went to the Blue Jays and played well. And the Rockies just got the bad shake because he was good. Who knows? They had some good Rocket teams, and when he was healthy, they were good. Your Baldo and stuff like that. But he was just always hurt. And like I said, deemed the perfect player. You can just imagine. And he had a good career. He did have good numbers. Just he could have doubled them.
Yeah.
Really, at least doubled them.
Yeah, definitely.
Whatever his numbers end up being, he could have doubled them and been really Hall of Famer at shortstop, premier position.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Shortstop with power or contact, he could field. I mean, he would have been the ultimate player. I mean, that's talk about a jewel right there, having your cornerstone player, a shortstop. And I always said for many years that he's the best shortstop in the league if he could just stay on the field. If he could stay there and have minimal injuries, maybe he misses a stretch here and there. He's on the 10-day.
125 games.
Yeah, I mean,
125 games he plays every year.
Yeah.
Where's his team's at? Where's his career at? Probably another third of his stats.
Yeah. It always frustrated me with players like that, especially Tulowitzki, where it's like if you could just not break your ankle or break your wrist or whatever all the time. It was always something different, and it was the same story when he tried to revitalize his career with the Yankees just recently. It was the same story. He played about 7 games and he's on the DL again.
There was always sizable injuries too. Broken ribs, broken wrist, double heel surgery, ankle surgery. It was just always something big. It was never like a broken finger or sprained hamstring or something like that. It was like you ripped your hamstring apart.
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah. It was something that kept him out for a while, yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I like Tulowitzki too, so. All right, the next player I got is actually a player I had to go digging for a little bit because I couldn't remember his name, but I remember the story so well, and I know you do too, is Nick Adenhart for the Angels. Another unfortunate, tragic story like I've listed before. Tragically, he died at 22 years old. He was a pitcher. He was one of the top prospects in baseball. He was like a top 50, top 75 prospect, I believe, somewhere in there. He really had a lot of potential, and they touted him as going to be one of the better pitchers that had come through the system in a long time. And he really only pitched a few times. He pitched
just once.
He pitched. I was thinking of his AAA stats.
He pitched. He debuted.
He debuted, and he had a good start too.
6 shutout innings.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe he had a little bit of a rocky start with AAA, and then he started to put it together in AAA. And then when he finally broke out into the big leagues, he had that one good start, and then that was unfortunately it. And we never got to see the rest of what his career could have been.
Yeah, he was a passenger in the car later at night.
Mm-hmm.
I believe coming from the stadium or something late after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And was in a car accident from a drunk driver that ended his life. Again, with the Angels, another team just seems, can't catch breaks.
Yeah, especially with the pitching. They never can catch a break with the pitching.
Yeah, I mean, young prospect. I mean, he was top 100, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
Again, another guy, I knew exactly where I was. I was coming home from Blue Calls here, like with Blue Calls in Single A. I was coming home from them and found out. So
yeah,
just crazy, but
yeah, hard to believe it was over 10 years ago. I couldn't even believe it when I read it. I was like, wow.
So, the next guy on my list is just a crazy story, and that's Brandon Webb. And some people might not even know who Brandon Webb is, or just overthink him. Probably didn't even know his name or hear his name in 5 years since I just said it.
Mm-hmm.
He won Cy Young in 2006. He finished second to Cy Young in 07. Finished second to Cy Young in 08. He was 22-7 in 2008. He was a 3-time All-Star. That's unbelievable. With Arizona.
Yeah.
Before the humidifiers and stuff like that, where the balls were kind of jumping, harder to pitch. Teams that weren't all that great, but they're pretty good, not great.
Yeah.
Borderline playoff teams. But so what happened was they said that he had an abnormal shoulder. So he had his contract disputes, and the fans kind of got a little aggressive with him there, kind of upset with him. And the reason they found out was because in his physicals and stuff like that, the doctors really had an abnormal shoulder. And that's what they listed it as. What ended up happening is he had some soreness in it eventually at some point, and he ended up getting surgery on it like 5 months after. They couldn't it was all year. From spring training, the next year, 09, spring training, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with his shoulder. And he ended up getting surgery in like August. So it's like you missed 5 months you wasted trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then he came back from that. Tried working with some mechanics to help his shoulder. He said he never felt comfortable. He could never do anything. He never pitched again. 08, he was 22-7. Really should have won Cy Young. He'll tell you too, up and down. He should have won Cy Young. 22 wins.
Yeah, that's good right there.
And never pitched again. So there you go. He was Cy Young, then got second, then really should have got second again. Should have won it, and never pitched again.
Shame.
So how about that's. I think he ended up having 50 wins in 3 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a hell of a 3 years.
And he never pitched again. Never pitched again.
Yeah.
Not even like, he pitched, tried, he got hurt. That was it.
Yeah.
It was done. A guy who's, I don't know, probably mid-30s right now.
Yeah.
He would still be pitching.
Probably, yeah.
Or just finishing up a career.
Yeah.
A Hall of Fame career, 200-something wins, and who knows.
Yeah, we'd be talking about, hey, is he a Hall of Famer? We don't know.
And a Diamondbacks team.
Yeah.
Where did I put them? Because that's an ace.
Yeah.
That's your stop guy right there.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 losses, done. Nope, not no more.
Yeah.
You're coming out and winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a crazy story that I don't think anyone really talks about.
It wasn't until you told me the abnormal shoulder. It's like, what do you mean? What the hell are you talking about? That's an amazing story, and I remember him being really dominant for those few years.
They kind of compare him a little bit to Hershiser with the shoulder, because he had a little bit of that weird shoulder kind of going on, and then he had the big surgery and never really pitched again. Well, pitched effectively again. He had kind of something not real similar, but kind of in that area.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
Man, that's a shame, because he was fun to watch for those few years. I do remember him pretty well, pitching well. So, and like you said, Diamondbacks team, of course, another team that just can't seem to catch a break. That's just the trend. All right, I got a player here next that I want to talk about that's a little bit different from the other players we talked about, but that's Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady is obviously, at this point, I don't know much of an argument you can make at this point, but he's the greatest QB of all time. But what if he decided to play baseball? He got drafted, I believe he was drafted by the Astros, if I remember correctly. I think maybe he was drafted a few times, but I'm not 100%.
I don't know if it was the Astros or the Expos.
That could have been too. It actually might have been the Expos. Either way. He was drafted, and say he made the decision to come play baseball. I mean, how much different is our professional sport landscape right now that we don't have him in football and we have him in baseball? I highly doubt that we'd be talking to him about him in the same vein in baseball that we would in football. He's got a surefire Hall of Famer, best QB of all time, and a legend of the game at this point. I mean, where would he be in baseball? I have a hard time believing that he'd be one of the best players. I mean, not that he's not an incredible athlete. It's just like baseball. It's just more of a dog-eat-dog sport, I think. And maybe football was more of his calling. Maybe baseball was lesser so. A sport that he enjoyed playing in college and stuff, and he was good at, but not something that maybe he could have competed effectively in the MLB.
Sure.
But I mean, it's fun to think about what could have been with him. I mean, maybe he would have been good. Maybe he would have been a few-time All-Star. Maybe he would have put up some good stats. I mean, but certainly not what he's doing with the NFL right now, and his legacy there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got drafted as a catcher.
Yeah.
So he was deemed a really good catcher. Could obviously throw.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been able to hit. Definitely would have been pretty good in MLB, I believe. But it would have changed everybody's. Would have changed 2 sports or so.
Yeah.
With one decision. Yeah, it's kind of alternative, thought or universe.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, that's a good one to think about.
Yeah, there were a few football players I was considering. I mean, one player that I was actually looking at that I didn't know was Golden Tate. Batted like three something in like some amateur leagues, and he was getting scouted. I believe he got drafted. But I just thought that Tom Brady was more of a story that it's like the whole NFL itself could change if he makes that decision.
And there's a lot of people like that. Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
There's so many guys like that. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So the next guy I got, it's a little bit more of a smaller one. I wouldn't say it's real small, but more of a smaller one, more of a guy that I kind of watched and rooted for, and that's Andrew Bailey.
Yeah.
Won Rookie of the Year in 2009. He was a closer, relief pitcher. That's what he always was. Never was really a starter. He was always a relief pitcher. Came up, won Rookie of the Year. He had 26 saves and a 1.84 ERA that first year. Two-time All-Star his first 2 years. And then after that, I think his third year, he had like a 3.4 ERA, which is all right.
Mm-hmm.
He just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
He just, even those years where he was good, he seemed like he would miss. Oh, he's kind of sore here. He couldn't really get all the starts or all the relief appearances he could have. I think his rookie year, or it was a rookie year or second year, he had like 80 something innings, and that was about it. Every other ones were like 40, 50 innings.
Yeah.
Had some injuries, like shoulder injuries, what washed his career. He had a labrum surgery, and then he had a shoulder capsule surgery, which is, put those together, that's your whole arm.
Yeah.
It's your whole upper arm. And that just washed his career.
Yeah.
With the A's, which would have been, again, another team that just seems like they can't really, you can't miss on these guys, obviously, with the A's not spending a bunch of money. And just bad luck. He went to the Red Sox, I believe, and he ended up with the Angels at some point. Just didn't really play all that long. He just, you knew what happened. He couldn't really pitch anymore. And it's a guy who I think could have had 300, 400, 500 saves in his career.
Yeah.
Won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
That's a reliever.
Pretty good.
So on a team that 09 A's, I mean, talking about a team that's all right, nothing crazy, but the guy really, 300, 400, 500 saves and a real good career, probably still pitching, really.
Yeah, probably.
So, the guy I always rooted for just couldn't get over the injuries.
Yeah, I know you got first-hand experience with that with fantasy baseball.
Yeah, I think I picked him twice. I think I had him one year he was good, and I had him another year he was hurt. I mean, always gave him a chance. He just couldn't get over that injury bugs.
Yeah, and he was pretty damn good too for those few years. I mean, I remember that very well.
Sure.
All right, next guy I want to talk about is Nomar Garciaparra. Now, Nomar was Nomar. He he was touted as, it was like a, the three-headed monster of A-Rod, Jeter, and Nomar.
And
but
Reyes.
And Reyes, yeah.
A little later on, but still kind of in that same.
Yeah, but
I guess when Nomar kind of disappeared, Reyes took a spot.
Yeah, because you still got Jeter and A-Rod there, but then all of a sudden the three-headed monster, you're losing the one guy.
Yeah.
But Nomar never really, in my opinion, and I think a lot of sports people's opinions, never really quite lived up to the hype, and he certainly didn't come close to what Jeter and A-Rod did in their careers. Obviously, A-Rod you could put an asterisk next to with this whole steroid thing and his whole attitude while he played, but Nomar, imagine you have, for the entirety, say, of Jeter's career, you have the Red Sox, the rivalry, with Nomar over there, shortstops for them. You got two rival teams with two all-star shortstops. I mean, we could be talking right now about not only Jeter being almost unanimous, but maybe Nomar could be up there too as another Red Sox great. Imagine him and Ortiz in that lineup, Ortiz and Manny in that line. I mean, it's fun to think about, but yeah, Pedroia. I mean, yeah, I mean, it really.
Go on and on.
Yeah, and I know that he was big in Boston. He was huge in Boston. I know people loved him, and it's a shame that he just never really lived up to the hype. And even from the rival's perspective, the Yankees, I would have liked to seen that would have been fun to see that rival shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, he had 3 or 4 years there where he was real good. 336, 346, 356, whatever it was.
Yep.
Home runs, some stolen bases. Broke his wrists, and that was about the end of him.
Yeah.
So he broke his wrists. He came back, had another productive year. I think it was like 04. But then it just kind of, he just couldn't, he lost some power and he couldn't stay healthy. He got traded to the Dodgers and left Fenway, which could be a part of it too. A little easier ballpark to put up some more offensive stats with that lineup, of course.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he just couldn't stay healthy. That's pretty much the trend. That's why that's how you get here. Really, is injuries.
Yeah.
But what could have been there? One of the better
man.
shortstops you probably would have ever seen.
Yeah, 100%.
In the start of the revolution, I guess.
Yeah, really.
So, but yeah, Nomar's is a good story to go look at. Go into what happened, where it happened.
Yeah.
So next guy I got on my list is more of More of a prospect gone wrong kind of thing, and that's Jesus Montero.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's the greatest baseball player ever. They said he was like the best. He was a catcher that had Pudge's arm, A-Rod's power. That's what they said. Big guy, didn't really say nothing, and he was just Yankee fans just couldn't wait for the guy to come up. Yeah. Then he came up, and he came up to an unbelievable start.
Yeah.
You know,
explosive start.
He batted .328 in his first 60 at bats, 4 home runs, he had 12 RBIs. You know, in 2012 he got traded to Seattle in that Michael Pineda trade. It's like 2 superstar young guys get traded. He had a pretty good year his first full year in 2012. You know, like 265, 20 something home runs. You know, pretty good year for you know, young guy. You know, learning a new team, catching and stuff like that. But then he really got overweight issues. Didn't really work out and had some mental issues where he just couldn't, you know, keep himself focused. Gained weight, had a couple injuries. Seattle was just kind of ran their course with him. They're like, you don't want to listen. We're kind of done with you. And that was it. Disappeared. I don't think he ever really played for another team. Nah. Seattle was like, you know, we're trying to give you a chance here. And other teams were like, well, he's not listening. He's gaining weight. Obviously, he can't really catch now anymore. He's more of a DH, first base. Yep. Not really great over there. Just lost a chance.
Yeah.
And just wasted talent. I think it really became more of a focus issue than more of an injury thing, but a little bit of both. But I think it was more focus and care for being in shape, you know, or thinking things were going to get kind of given to him because he was the top guy. And, you know, he just never could turn his mind different. But what could have been for sure.
Yeah, and he was exciting when he first came up. I was all about Jesus Montero. I was actually pretty sad when I understood the trade at the time. As much as I didn't like it, I understood the trade at the time.
Well, Pineda was the man.
And Pineda was the man. And I believe, if my memory is right, I believe we still had Gary Sanchez down the pipeline with catching. So it wasn't like we needed a catcher. Like we had that young guy. We still had another young guy down the.
I think we had Russell Martin at the time too.
Let's say Russell Martin.
Cervelli.
Yeah, Cervelli. We had Austin Romine. We had like all these. J.R. Murphy, I believe, was another one we had there. It was almost a surplus of catching. So it wasn't like we needed him. We had catchers.
You kind of knew he wasn't going to catch. He was going to eventually at the first base DH or whatever because he was a big guy.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean, he came up and he was just, you know, what you expected. He was this guy who just crushed the ball. He was like he was really first Sanchez.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a hitter, though, than a home run hitter. Had the power, but more of a hitter, 320. Maybe like a Torres. Come up and just kind of hit the ball and be really good and have power. And then gone. Maybe his motivation went away when he left New York. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that could have definitely done it.
Especially going to Seattle, but there you go. Bad luck.
Yeah.
Look at that franchise. So talk about bad luck. I mean,
yeah.
And then they go wrong again, really, with Cano going out there.
Yeah.
He was good there, but, you know.
Yeah.
Still, so it just seemed like they were like, whatever the Yankees give us, don't do. Just no.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So, but I guess it was a kind of lose-lose trade, I guess, to Pineda. But I always liked Pineda, so.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Montero just more, I think, wasted talent than injuries, but what could have been for sure.
Yeah, could have been more of a mental thing than maybe a physical thing, you know, unfortunately. All right, one of my last 2 guys here that I want to talk about is B.J. Upton, who... Melvin Upton, yeah, whatever he wants to go by, I don't care at this point. He's not playing. So, he was a really good player with the Rays, great outfielder. There you go again with the franchises. Speed, power, contact. He's a great fielder. I mean, with a team
Great bloodline. His brother.
Yeah.
Superstar. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he had always had a funky swing. I thought he had a load set up to his swing with the kind of shaking his leg and that front leg. I thought he was an exciting player. I always thought that he was just kind of a fixture in the league. I never really bothered too much with him. And then he got that big contract with the Braves. He was going to play with his brother. It was like the perfect meeting. You know, it was work out perfect for them. And he just, I don't know what happened. He fell apart. He was batting 180. He was
Timing was all off.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy had, when he was high, oh my God.
Yeah.
He would just be a home run, home run, a triple, a home run. The guy could run. You know, it was just unbelievable out there. And then, you know, he just couldn't hit. I don't know what happened. But you know what? I think Braves fans should thank B.J. Upton. Because without B.J. Upton not being good, they don't have the team they have.
That's true.
They don't rebuild. They don't get Acuna. They don't get Ozzy Albies. They don't get... So...
It's true.
That's the alternative. history to baseball, you know.
Yeah,
But,
you got the good team now, so just be thankful.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a guy could do everything, and of course the Rays. He had good years with the Rays. Contract
Oh, yeah.
year, that contract year came up at the end of the year, they're like, "Oh, is he gonna keep him?" He was just hitting home runs and home runs and home runs and home runs. I mean, running the bases, crazy in the outfield.
Yeah.
You know, just ranged everywhere, just
Yeah.
floated when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy player.
Yeah, he was unbelievable for those few years.
Just couldn't. Went to the Padres with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Just couldn't. Just seemed like this timing was all off, and everyone, you know, I guess trying to change him at that point, and just he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Pressure maybe a little bit got to him, and just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's like you said, his timing was all off. He batted terribly, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately.
But the last guy I got on my list, I want to go into a little bit of detail of, is really what happened, where'd you go, and that's Alan Craig.
Yeah.
Because from 2011 to 2013, you come beat me up, because he was one of the best hitters in baseball. You come right here and come beat me up and try fighting me and telling me otherwise. I don't care. I don't care. I mean, 2011 won the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Big part of that team. Really, was a big reason why the Cardinals really, really pushed to get Pujols back.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mean, one of the top hitters. Hit 20 to 30 home runs. But I mean, that one year, I don't remember exactly the year. Might have been 2012, might have been 2011. I'm not sure. I think it might have been 2011.
Mm-hmm.
He was batting like 500 with people on scoring position with 2 outs and stuff like that. I mean, he was like, oh, boom, hit.
Yeah.
I mean, every time.
Yeah.
Had power. You know, he had average. He was over 300 for 3-4 years in a row. Like I said, he had power. The balls in the gap. Drove in runs. Consistent. Played all the time.
Yeah.
And then he got the foot injury, the Liz Frank injury. And it's an injury that's very, very tricky. Doesn't really heal that well, and some people it doesn't heal ever. Real tricky injury. He tripped over Will Middlebrooks at third base.
Yep.
They said that aggravated it a little bit. You know, he was already hurt. He just couldn't. He fought that all the time at that point. And even that year with that injury, he still hit great.
Yeah.
And then it just exploded at that point. He couldn't get healthy. You know, they kind of figured out he really didn't have a position. He wasn't the greatest first baseman. You could put him over there. He's more of a DH kind of guy. I mean, after that, his average just went way down. He was a 180 hitter. He was a pinch hitter. They traded him to the Red Sox, and just nothing could get going. And then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
He just disappeared. But that one real injury, that was it. That Liz Frank injury. He was just never the same. But for those couple of years, man, Alan Craig was unstoppable.
He sure was.
Guys on base didn't matter. He was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy I wish just would have kept playing. Just could have figured it out or got past that injury, because I would have liked watching that.
Yeah. Whenever I think of Alan Craig, I think of just the RBIs. Like, I just think of him, you know, runners in scoring position, he's getting a hit.
Yeah, you just could foul everything off.
Yeah.
You fool him, you just get the bat to it, foul it off. And then you just, nice easy stance, and then boom, in the gap.
Yep.
Ball in the gap. He was just a gap-to-gap guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. He in that vein with the RBIs and stuff reminds me of LeMahieu last year, where every time he came up, it was like, well,
yeah,
here comes RBIs.
I think he has the record for the most highest average for, I think, guys in scoring position with 2 outs.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I think he has the record for like highest average in a season with that.
I think you're right.
I'm not sure. If he doesn't have the record, he's like right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was unbelievable.
And it carried over to the playoffs. Obviously, they were in the playoffs. You know, they won the World Series 11. They were in at 13.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it wasn't for Dave Freeze, a lot of things, but it wasn't for Dave Freeze's heroics. You probably, people would have looked at Alan Craig a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wow, this guy was pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's almost forgotten about at this point. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just disappeared. Weird. How that can happen, but all right. The last guy that I got here, it makes sense. He's the last guy. Kind of a two. What's it call it? Two what could have been situations for him. Rick Ankiel.
Sure.
With the pitching, and him as a position player. Just start with the pitching. I mean, he was a pretty dominant, pretty good pitcher, and just all of a sudden he just lost his control. I don't know what happened.
The ultimate case of the yips.
Yeah, he was throwing the ball to the backstop. He was throwing the ball everywhere. It got to a point.
You got to get him off the mound. I might even got that, but they were like, "You can't pitch anymore."
Yeah,
that's how it was.
Yeah, and then he makes a comeback, position player, just a hitter, and he becomes a pretty darn good position player. Pretty
with a cannon.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah. But he never, mainly probably because of that and the transition and how he just never stuck to the one to pitching or being a right fielder or whatever. I just don't think he ever reached his potential in either. And it was more of like he was good at both. And if he had, say he didn't get what you would, a serious case of the yips, if that didn't happen in pitching, I mean, who knows where his career would have gone? Or say he was a position player the whole time, who knows where that career would have gone for him? From a hitting perspective, from an outfield fielding perspective. I mean, like you said, he had a cannon. That's what when I think of Rick Ankiel, I think of that arm that he had.
Yeah, I believe he started getting that problem pitching was all of a sudden like in a championship or a playoff game.
It was a playoff game, yeah.
I don't even know if it was the majors, was the minors. I don't really remember that part, but I remember it was a playoff game. It was like a big game, and all of a sudden, one over the backstop or like one way over. Oh, okay, you see guys happen, and then all of a sudden it was just never.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't safe to be out there. But just a crazy story. But he still had a decent career. 270s he's hit from some years. Just. It was there. You seen all the talent. It just you couldn't get in his head of what's going on. That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
Seemed like it was just about 99% mental.
Yeah.
On why he couldn't hit or why he couldn't pitch, why he couldn't be that superstar.
Because you saw he had the ability. The ability was there. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to run through a couple names quickly. Honorable mentions. Brian LaHare's one. That half a year with the Cubs. Oh my God, unbelievable. Then he went to Japan. That was it, half a year, and he was never had a good year that year, but the first half was unbelievable. Yeah, just couldn't do anything. Nick Johnson, top guy, with the Yankees, and then some injuries, and that was it for him.
Yeah.
Mark Appel,
nope,
never even played. He was supposed to be like Strasburg, that kind of prospect, and he's never even played.
Drafted twice high, wasn't he?
Yeah. Drafted, I always want first overall. I think he was drafted the first round again.
Yeah.
And he still didn't pitch. Matt Harvey, everyone kind of knows that story. Mo Vaughn, one of the best hitters, just trapped in a big guy body, they always said. So, and then this guy's crazy story I'm not going to get into, but go look him up, Eric Davis.
Yeah.
Steal like amazing 1,000 bases, hit 1,000 home runs. He could have been like 500. Just some injuries, and I think he had cancer at some point while he was still young. But yeah, that's crazy with that guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Rocco Baldelli, the Rays, bad luck.
Yep.
And then to go with the Rays, Carl Crawford. He had a little bit better career, but still, he could have been. He was out of the league by 31, 32 years old.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Jabba Chamberlain, we already mentioned him previously.
Oh man.
Joel Zamaya was one who was like one of the early fireballers.
Yeah.
He also got some weird wrist injury from playing Guitar Hero, if you want to look that up.
Oh, my God.
So that's one of the weird injuries. Daisuke Matsuzaka, that was Cy Young one year. Was in the chase for it. That was it. Carl Pavano,
yep.
Unbelievable couple of years, then injured for like 5, and then, pitched again okay after that.
Yeah.
Delman Young, got to put him on there because one of the top picks, and
he's still only 30 years old, I heard.
Yeah, he's getting younger.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And the last guy I got on here is Juan Encarnacion, Edwin Encarnacion's brother. He had an unfortunate thing because he had a pretty good career going. Maybe not Hall of Fame, but the Hall really good. You want to put him in.
Yeah.
Foul ball hit him in the eye, and really devastated ended his career.
Yeah.
It came back maybe a little bit after that, but that ended his career. Some serious injuries and facial fractures and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys. These are mostly, like I said, like we mentioned, kind of like late 80s, 90s on.
Yeah. I've actually got a few names here myself. Just a few, and you named most of them. You kind of spoke for both of us on those, but just a few names here that I want to run down. Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp, unbelievable in the 2011 year. He should have won MVP, or at least, you can make the argument. But he really hasn't reached that level again. It's just kind of been a mediocre to above average, a little bit above average player. Never really could put it back together. Tim Lincecum, I mean, we talked about him last week. It's just unbelievable. 2 Cy Youngs. He was awesome, and just that, similar to D-Train, he just, that herky-jerky motion, just couldn't keep it up, and he started getting hit. Will Middlebrooks, the Red Sox, he just never put it together. He had unbelievable potential. I remember they talked to him very highly.
Always hurt.
Yeah.
Always, and just bad luck sometimes.
Yeah.
The one, I think he fell down going for a pop-up, or dove going for a pop-up and broke his shoulder, or broke his collarbone or something. That was like one of the last ones with the Padres. He finally started kind of getting a little bit, like at least he'll have a little bit of a career, and that was the end of that.
And the last guy, I just think that we should just mention it, Tyler Skaggs, unfortunate passing that we had. He was probably the most recent that we've had, or one of the most recent.
Yeah.
And not to say that Tyler Skaggs had a little bit of time with the league, and he wasn't the most unbelievable pitcher. Not to tarnish any sort of his reputation or whatever, but it's just a shame that he didn't get to end his career on his terms. As far as his life is concerned.
Yeah, and he would have been a big part of that Angels team, especially the team needing pitching.
Yeah.
And again, right where we remember exactly where I was. We were on our way back from Cincinnati and our Detroit trip last year, on our way back to our buddy Dom's house in Maryland on a road trip. When the phones went off, breaking news, and there it was.
Yeah.
Still stuff coming out about that.
Yep.
So.
That's how recent it is, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, there's so many guys you could talk about.
Yeah. And if you keep going back and back, there's more and more guys.
Yeah. And crazier and crazier stories.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, but, and quickly, I just want to mention, too, with a lot of stuff going on with baseball, that documentary came out with the home run chase. Long Gone Summer, I believe it's called.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
With Sosa McGuire. And that's, I watched it. It's unbelievable. I just want to mention in there, I think every baseball fan, I think everyone who in baseball, I think the commissioner himself and his front office should sit down and watch that. Because when you get towards the middle of that, you really see the impact baseball has. And no matter what's going on, and whatever, any other sport going on, when something crazy is going on in baseball, people pay attention.
Yeah.
Things stop.
Baseball,
it draws, it's something about it. I don't know if it's just always in the back of people's heads or something, but baseball, it makes people stop. And the impact that had, and how many people wanted to watch baseball after that, went to baseball games. I mean, you can see the viewership numbers and stuff like that. The kids that wanted to play baseball. There was a thing in there, it showed, kids in school, and the teacher was asking about who's going to go home and watch, and everyone raised their hand. The impact it had is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think that documentary is great because it shows the baseball. We know the steroid side. We know what happened. Just show the baseball part.
Yeah.
It goes into a little bit, but it shows the baseball. But it just shows how impactful baseball is. And no matter what, you see so many people, baseball's dying. No, it's not dying. It's not dying. Is it the flashiness? No. But when it comes down to it, you're watching. People are watching. And when something's going on, it makes you stop.
Yeah.
So in the dog days of summer, that's the sport. So baseball has an impact on everybody. And when something like that's happening, which is one of the greatest things to save baseball, it's just crazy how that affected the world.
Yeah.
The world. That stopped the world. I mean, name something else that happened in '98 in sports, out of baseball. It didn't matter.
Yeah, it literally didn't matter. At that point,
it was baseball.
Yeah,
it was baseball. I mean, the Yankees had 100 and something wins in '98.
Yeah, one of the best teams of all time.
It's still McGuire hitting all the home runs and Sosa hitting all the home runs, and the Cardinals, I don't even think made the playoffs that year. And the Yankees won the World Series and had 1 million wins.
Yeah,
that takes the headlines.
Yeah.
So it just tells you where baseball is, and I just want everyone. I think that league themselves should sit down and watch that.
Yeah.
I think that put a program together or put a plan together to get baseball back. That's how important it was.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that and to add a little bit, I don't want to go too far off topic here, but I read a tweet earlier that I read from monmouth.edu. It was retweeted by John Heyman, and it says that national poll, as the return of baseball remains uncertain, 25% of Americans say it is the sport they miss watching the most, which is the most out of any pro sport, the most percentage. And there's still, and obviously the narrative is, baseball's dying, people don't care about baseball anymore, but in the hearts of so many people, it's still like America's sport, and in a time like this, it is a sport that is needed.
Yeah, and you know what? Go through your followers on any of your social medias. Do you ever see a bunch of people going to football games or basketball games? But I see a lot of people throughout the summer going to a baseball game.
Yep, there's something about it.
Something about sitting down, getting some crazy sunburn, and having a beer and a hot dog at a baseball game.
Yeah.
I don't care what you got to say. And everyone's done it. I think just about everyone's done it. Everyone's picked up a baseball bat in their life and swung it, and everyone's played with football. Everyone's done something with baseball. That's the craziest thing about it. It's down deep in every single American out there. That's what's crazy about it. And that watching that documentary, get in the middle, there, it'll give you chills. Give me chills. Watching how much it impacted people, and I think that's what we need, and we're gonna need that to get baseball back.
Yeah, it's relevant to the situation now. Yeah. It's very relevant.
I just wanted to mention that here towards the end of this because it's how impactful that it shows baseball could be. And we need to figure out a way to get it back. And I think, like I said, I think the commissioner and the front office and those people should watch it and see the impact it has on people, because I think it gets lost.
Yeah.
It gets lost in the shuffle, and you don't got to change the rules to impact people in baseball. You just got to play the damn game.
Yeah. You're damn right.
So.
Yeah, we could go into
yeah. So
that, but...
but to finish up the episode, I want to go into our trivia question. So trivia question this week is, how many immaculate innings have there been in Major League Baseball history? And that obviously is a 9-pitch inning, 3 pitches per batter, strikeout each batter. So how many have there been? And then people, I don't think, really think about that. But,
I had no idea when you told me. I had no idea.
Yeah, at least it's a nice round number.
Yeah.
100. That's it. 100. It's a nice round number. It's been a little bit more popular now, more recent, which is kind of surprising because of the hard throwers and swing and miss kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
But 100 immaculate innings. So it's, when you see one, it's
pretty rare.
It's pretty unique. Yeah, I think there's been more cycles. I think
that wouldn't surprise me.
Or it's close in cycles. I mean, obviously, it's been way more no hitters.
Yeah.
Not quite the perfect game
percentage,
but no hitters, way over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the rare feats.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and some unique names, some names that you kind of expect in the list, and some names that you go, wow, he threw one, okay.
Yeah. It starts way back. The first one was like 18 something.
Yeah, of course.
But it's 100 immaculate innings in baseball history.
Yeah, that's a cool. It's not something you think about. You actively think about, because an immaculate inning, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter which way you slice it, that's impressive.
Yeah. And the last one was last year. I believe it was September 27th or something. Will Harris.
Mm-hmm.
He was the last one to throw one. I think it was a few last year. But it was 100 immaculate innings.
Nice round number to remember. It's hard to forget that number once you hear this.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any final notes, final players you missed, or anything you want to bring up before we go?
No, that's pretty much it. And we'll keep figuring out what we're going to keep talking about each week until America's Pastime comes back for us.
Yeah.
But we'll keep thinking of something.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just do a whole episode on Rob Manfred.
No.
we can talk all day about him. We'll have a 5-hour episode.
Yeah. And then send it directly to him.
Yeah. Here's what we think of you.
Yeah. You don't want to like that. It's going to have to be edited quite a bit.
Oh, my God. All right. Until next week, you can follow me on Twitter at @RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. Just a quick note at the end here. We are on YouTube. We have a new Podbean website, screwball.podbean.com. You can find it on our Twitter and Facebook links. We are also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and we are evolving and moving our podcast to more platforms, so look out for that. So until next week, guys, that's it from us. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.